Hello everyone, welcome to video 9 of our 10 video series on the most common behavior problems with dogs. As we start nearing the end of the series, the last two topics are going to be a little bit bigger topics to explore. So there might not be very much detail in these videos. We try to keep this kind of short, but give you just enough information to start exploring if you're experiencing these issues, kind of start exploring what it is you can do about it and what some of your resources are. So my name is Cori, and I am the training program coordinator at A Walk in the Park located in Maumee, Ohio. And today we're going to be talking about separation anxiety. This is a very challenging topic for owners, especially if you have a dog with separation anxiety or think your dog may be experiencing separation anxiety. You may be feeling a little bit frustrated and even a little bit hopeless as to whether your dog can overcome this and whether you can live comfortably with your dog that has separation anxiety. So some of the things that we want to kind of talk about before we really get into what exactly this is and what it looks like is that you need to rule out any medical issues that could be causing your dog to display behaviors that could also look like separation anxiety. So different manifestations of separation anxiety include excessive barking, howling, urination or defecation inside the house, destructive behaviors such as chewing, digging, panting, pacing, your dog trying to escape the home or the yard, things like that. Those are different manifestations of separation anxiety. Though in some cases that urinating in the home or inside the crate could actually be a medical issue if your dog has incontinence or a urinary tract infection. So if you see some of these symptoms, some of these manifestations, make sure your dog is healthy first before looking at some of a behavioral treatment for this. And then if you're able to rule out things like a UTI, take a look at whether it's a result of incomplete potty training and other behavioral things that training could help with before looking at treatment for actual separation anxiety. If you do suspect real, truly separation anxiety, it is in your best interest to contact a professional trainer, someone that can also have eyes on the situation and help you work through some of the things that I just mentioned, ruling out whether it's truly separation anxiety, because there could be some other things going on. It could just be barrier frustration, where it's not truly separation anxiety, though there are some of those symptoms and manifestations. How can we look at your environment to see if this is what's really going on? I recently had a client where we dealt with separation anxiety, and just talking to the owner over the phone, the owner was extremely concerned, was feeling very sad for her dog. It was recently had adopted an older dog, and this was kind of their experience is this separation anxiety. And some of the things that she was explaining to me, just initially, yeah, we've got separation anxiety going on, but what exactly are we looking at? So during our first meeting, I have a whole questionnaire full of scenarios. What does your dog do in this situation? What does your dog do in this situation? And blah, 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 blah. We went down the line, probably 20 different questions to really narrow down exactly what it is that we're looking at and how, we can kind of start helping, overcome the various steps along the way. So getting help from a professional can really help you narrow down exactly what it is you and your dog are experiencing, and is it truly separation anxiety? Recently had another client contact me with the fear that their dog had separation anxiety, and what did they need to do? So I went through the same process with them, and I actually kind of gave this example in another video, but what it turned out to be was that they had a very active, highly intelligent breed, and what initially looked like some separation anxiety symptoms. We had some pacing, we had some panting, we had some vocalizations, but in situations where a dog truly having separation anxiety, in those situations where a dog with separation anxiety, they would react a certain way, this dog was not reacting the way that I would expect a dog with separation anxiety to react. So in looking at that, I was confident in saying we're not looking at separation anxiety, we're looking at some real boredom here. And I gave them some tips and some activities to help engage their dog throughout the day when they were gone from the home, to keep their dog active, exercise mentally and physically. And we were comfortable giving that assessment, and those enrichment items did help their dog to burn out some of that energy while they were gone, while the owners were gone and the dog was left alone. So we didn't have the separation anxiety outcome like the owners thought they were seeing. So that professional assistance can help you rule out a much bigger training issue. Separation anxiety can be a very difficult one to deal with on the owner's end, on your end, not because the training itself is difficult and requires advanced techniques or tools or anything like that. Truthfully, the training is extremely simple. What is so difficult about separation anxiety is how much time, consistency, and effort has to come from you as the owner to help your dog past this issue, this trouble that you're experiencing. The very first thing to understand about separation anxiety, and this is why it is so challenging, this is why a lot of people need help from not just a professional trainer, but members of their family, neighbors, friends, to help them through this, is that a dog that experiences separation anxiety, especially if it's a severe case, cannot be left alone for any period of time. You have to slowly work your way up to that in very small increments. And people are kind of shocked when they hear that. It surprises some people. But what's happening is if you leave and your dog runs through all of these symptoms, they start out panting and pacing because they notice you're picking up your keys, you're putting your coat on, you're grabbing your purse, you're lingering near the front door, you go out, you start the car, things like that. Your dog notices all of these things, and they start putting them into a routine, and they start anticipating what's going to happen next, and then they start getting more and more anxious. When your dog starts experiencing this anxiety, it's not a reaction they can turn off. There's different hormones in the body that lead to this experience. Stress hormones that start to take over, that flood the body. And once those hormones have flooded the body, it can take hours to even days for those hormones to be worked out of their system. So an anxious reaction can have a lasting effect on the body and on their emotional state. So continuously leaving your dog alone when they experience separation anxiety is just causing them to continue to rehearse this reaction and make this reaction stronger and stronger and stronger over time. So it doesn't diminish the reaction. Some advice that is very poor that I have seen out in the training world is to, leave your dog in their crate. They'll eventually get over it. It's really not the case for the reasons I just explained. Those stress hormones that start to take over the body, that start to take over the mindset, they don't go away. That is a physiological reaction that your dog's body cannot control, and it's one that you can't control either. If you find yourself in an anxious state, depending on what your things cause you to have anxiety, that once you start to feel anxious, there's nothing you can do to stop that from happening or reverse it. There's exercises you can consciously do to help calm yourself, but that sensation, that feeling doesn't just go away. You're like, oh, I'm feeling anxious. I'm just going to stop feeling anxious now. It doesn't work that way. And it doesn't work that way for your dog. A lot of times, if people have followed that advice where they crate their dog and let them react and have this anxious reaction, the anxiety taking over, they will sometimes report, after an hour or two, they do just lay down and go to sleep. That may, to the untrained eye, seem like you're helping your dog get over that separation anxiety. in reality, what's happening is that your dog is having this reaction to the point where their body exhausts themselves. They just become exhausted having this reaction. You may notice if you've got a puppy cam and you're watching what your dog is doing when you're not home, to see if they're becoming destructive and what level is this behavior escalating. You may see that your dog is panting and pacing inside their crate or inside the house. They start to cry, to whine, to vocalize. Maybe they urinate. Maybe they start scratching at the door. Maybe they start digging furiously at the rug to try to find a way out of their crate or whatever the case may be. All of these physical manifestations physically exhaust your dog. That's when they finally give up and lay down and rest, not because they've become calm, not because they have settled, but because they are now physically exhausted. And that is not only physically draining, but emotionally draining. And, it's hard to see dogs go through this. If you've ever experienced anxiety, you know that this is difficult. It resonates because if you felt the way that feels, and then you're consciously, purposefully putting your dog through that, that's a pretty devastating thing to do. So my advice is, get a professional trainer so that they can help you through that process. And you may need to rely, depending on your dog's level of separation anxiety, you may need to rely on a daycare to help you bridge the times where you can't be home and need someone to be with your dog so that you can be gone from the home for several hours or more, to keep your dog from rehearsing this process and experiencing this anxiety over and over again, because truly it only gets worse. It doesn't get better. The process in which you're going to help your dog get through the separation anxiety, and we've talked before about how sometimes these behaviors that we don't want to see, they can come back if we're not consistent and if we're not careful. And, we can actually be making this process worse by not taking this treatment process slowly and carefully. You're going to use a process of desensitizing and counter conditioning. Those are some fairly big training terms, but a professional trainer can help you understand what those things mean. But where you start with separation anxiety is identifying what those manifestations are, and then identifying what those things are that trigger your dog into having these manifestations and into actually, starting to whine, starting to pace, starting to howl, and starting to become destructive. What are the things that you notice, and break it down into very small pieces? What does my dog do when I put my shoes on? What does my dog do when I pick up my keys? What does my dog do when I put my hand on the doorknob? What does my dog do when I walk through the door and shut it behind me? You may want to invest in a camera to see what is actually going on. My client that had the dog where they thought they had separation anxiety reported that after some panting and some pacing and the dog jumping up in the window and looking around, the dog voluntarily walked into the crate and laid down and took a nap. I was confident in saying this was not exhaustion, because we weren't seeing specific destruction. We weren't seeing the dog getting to the point where they're physically exhausted. The dog chose to go in the crate. The dog chose to lay down and take a nap, and chose to stay there, and then was able to choose to get up and come out. And then the behavior of the dog after that was calm and comfortable, and there were no manifestations of that separation anxiety, which you would see in a dog that was truly suffering from this. So, we can kind of help pinpoint exactly what's going on when we have eyes on the situation. So when you are gone, what is happening? We can't help you diagnose a problem that we can't see. So getting a camera can help you, through that. Sometimes you'll see the trash can tipped over when you get home, and other things torn up, and that can be a manifestation of separation anxiety, but it could also just be a manifestation of boredom. So someone else can help you through that process and looking at that. And then we start chipping away at those things that trigger your dog. If picking up the keys really bother your dog, pick them up and carry them around with you in the house, and then go put them back down. If putting your shoes on gets your dog nervous, put your shoes on every morning and wear them throughout the day. Take them off and put them back on. Take them off and put them back on, just so your dog knows that just because you put on your shoes doesn't mean you're walking out the door. Then you'd have to slowly graduate to some of those bigger things that really set your dog off, like when you're walking out the door. You can walk out the door and come back in 100 times to help your dog understand that just because you walk out the door doesn't mean you're leaving. But then there comes a point where you actually do leave. And what do we do then? Okay. So you build up where you start counter conditioning these behaviors, picking up your keys, putting your shoes on, putting your coat on. You build up working with those things that trigger your dog so that they're no longer triggering your dog. And then you start working towards absence training. And that's actually leaving the house for periods of time. You don't want to jump to 10 minutes. You're going to jump to things like 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. From there, it's a very slow process. It's a very time-consuming process. So, if you need to take this on, it's the right thing to do for your dog, and it's eventually going to help you have a more harmonious life with your dog when your dog is comfortable and you're comfortable knowing that your dog is not freaking out every time you leave. That can lend us a much healthier mindset and emotional state too when it comes to living with and dealing with the dog with separation anxiety. If you'd like more information, I do take on separation anxiety cases. It's something I feel strongly about, getting owners help with their dogs, because it is not from the cases that I've worked with and I dealt with, the owners are kind of at their wits' end, and they're devastated. They want to do the right thing for their dog, but they don't know how to go about life with this situation. So I feel pretty strongly about getting owners help when they have dogs that deal with this issue. So I'm pretty confident in that I can definitely help with this particular issue. It's something that we can actually do virtually. So we can do in-person sessions, though we can also do them from the comfort of your home, from my home, from the computer as well. So there's a lot of flexibility in the way that we can work through this and what we can offer you. So if you feel like you are experiencing separation anxiety with your dog, give us a call and we can definitely set something up. If you have a new puppy and are dealing with, a lot of puppies will have separation anxiety just from the onset because they're puppies and they've, been born into a large litter, always had their mother and their litter mates around them. So when they're gone, they can immediately start experiencing some separation anxiety. So making sure that you are preventing that from getting worse, letting your puppy know that you are there for them and to meet their needs. Things that can make separation anxiety worse in a puppy is actually ignoring them when they are crying out to have their needs met, whether it's just physical interaction, knowing that you're still there. They may need access to water, or they may need to go outside to eliminate. So ignoring those needs when your puppy is crying can actually make that anxiety worse, and you can actually set your dog up to develop those manifestations where they're having inappropriate eliminations, excessive barking and howling and things like that, by not tending to their needs. One of the things that training suggestions that I've heard is when you bring a new puppy home and they're crying at night, really their home situation has just radically changed. And that's one of the reasons why any dog can develop separation anxiety, or big changes in their routine, changes in their guardianship. Rehoming a dog in their new home where they may not have had that separation anxiety before, they may develop it because of this big change in their guardianship and their lifestyle, changes to their routine, changes to their residence. All of these big changes can cause this to develop as the dog doesn't understand what's going on. And this is true for a puppy. So I've heard one way to help deal with, getting your puppy to sleep through the night, or, getting them comfortable in their crate, is to take that crate and overnight put it in a space on the other side of the house where you cannot hear your dog barking or crying or whatever, and getting them to learn how to settle themselves. In reality, this is a great way to set your dog up for developing separation anxiety. Just like a baby wakes up in the night to eat and to have their diaper changed and things like that, your puppy is a baby, it's a baby dog, okay? So those needs still need to be attended to, just like a human baby would need to be attended to during the night. So what you should be doing instead is keeping that crate right next to you, and just, you have gone out, you've gotten this puppy. It is now your responsibility to care for this puppy, and this means taking care of all of the puppy's needs. Just like if you have a baby, it's now your responsibility to attend to the needs of that baby. And if that means you're going to have some sleepless nights for a few weeks, that's exactly what that means. Your puppy cries in the night because it needs to go out to go to the bathroom. If the needs are met, they get comfortable again, they go back to sleep. Eventually they outgrow the need. As their body physically matures and develops, they outgrow the need to get up and go out to eliminate in the middle of the night, just like all of us do. So attending to your dog's needs, letting them know that you're there when they need something from you, helps them to develop the confidence that they can ask for what they need and they can get it, and then they resume being comfortable again, and then sleeping through the night, and you're preventing separation anxiety from developing in the first place. So making sure that we're meeting our dog's needs is an important way to support them mentally and emotionally, and can help them from developing this problem, and then helping them overcome it if that is the case. So please give us a call at 419-475-4101. You can reach me directly at 419-930-6229, and email me at training@awitp.net if you need help dealing with your dog's separation anxiety. We're here for you as the owner, and we're also here, of course, for your dog. You guys are a team, and we are here to support you as that team. Like I mentioned before, this is a pretty serious topic, and it's one that's very important to me. I really enjoy seeing these teams, these owner dog teams, really on the other side of the separation anxiety process, how draining it can be for owners. I really enjoy seeing some light come back into the life of these owners and these dogs when we work through this anxiety. Anxiety is not a thing to be messed with in humans or in dogs. It's a pretty big issue, and I'd love to help you with it. So please give us a call. We'll see you soon. Bye.